for sure. So, all right, I'm going to get the recording going. Now, I'm going to have to cover this in a couple of parts, guys, because I've been upset. Well, I was started on it yesterday, and I thought, wow, there's a lot of information, and I kind of just skimmed through my reports, and I kind of know what I'm looking for, but putting it together to teach somebody else, it's like, oh, wow, there's a lot of information. So I'm going to put this together in a couple of parts. But if there's any point where you guys have any questions, just stop me. So this is going to be kind of part one. There may be 3 parts. It just depends on, you know, how much we get covered and in my next slides. But what we're going to do today is welcome everybody. I'm going to go over how to identify the MTHFR gene in our AO scanners. I do want to say the disclaimer again, the AO device is not a medical device, nor is it a diagnostic device. It is merely an educational device, and we can use this information that we gather from our scanners to help us kind of put pieces together to figure out what's really going on. I'm going to share also, I pulled up my latest scan, and I'm actually making little notes and things in here, and I'll share this with you when I'm finished. That way you can kind of put the markers together, and you will quickly find out that I definitely have the MTHFR or methylation issue, and that is something that I've kind of discovered probably in the last few months, because I was like, you know, I'm taking a lot of different supplements, things aren't working. And I thought it was a lot to do with the stomach stapling that I was having issues with. But I'm finding out that maybe a lot of it has to do with MTHFR. So I'm kind of working on myself with this, and it's just kind of exciting. As an iridologist, for as long as I've been, I have a theory too with the MTHFR. And I've been kind of gathering data on that just in itself. But even when I look into people's eyes, you can almost see that gene mutation immediately. And I don't know how to explain it to people when I'm looking at eyes, but I can share different pictures, and you can see the traits that kind of end up showing up. So it's kind of exciting what our scanners show us. So I'm going to go on next to the screen. What is MTHFR? A lot of people don't even know what that is. So it's a methyl, and I'm going to try to say this, methyltetrahydrofolate reductase. It's MTHFR. You even hear people say the MTHFR gene. There's all kinds of little pins out there for it, but I refer to it as MTHFR. And again, a lot of people have not heard about it. It's an enzyme that breaks down the amino acid homocysteine. So there's one of your clues. If the MTHFR gene that codes for this enzyme mutates, it may contribute to a variety of health conditions ranging from depression to even some cancers. So if you can keep that in your head, that it is just an enzyme, and it helps to break down the amino acid homocysteine, and homocysteine is one of your markers in your scanner. It is located, let me see if I can share it with you so you can see it. I always forget where it's at, but bear with me and I'll show you exactly where it's at. Well, I wish there was an easy, there it is. So it's in your inflammation markers. So gastrointestinal function, but it's in the inflammation and oxidation. So if you're looking on your actual scanner, it'll be the category that starts with inflammation and oxidation. It'll be about the 4th one down. So you want to look at your homocysteine levels. You want to see if they're balanced. Mine happened to be balanced yesterday, but I have days where you'll see them kind of bounce back and forth. And this is where gathering, data on your scans over a period of a few days is extremely helpful. So MTHFR is an enzyme that converts folate from your diet into an activated form of folate called 5-methyltetrahydrofolate. When this happens, your body is able to use this form of folate to produce hundreds of chemical reactions. This is vitally important to have good health. Some of these chemical reactions include the ability to make or use active folate, the ability to use other vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and amino acids that work with folate, the ability to recycle homocysteine to maintain proper methylation, vital to good health, the ability to produce essential neurotransmitters, vital for good mental health, because we know when our neurotransmitters are off, sometimes we end up with some kind of mental illnesses, depressions, things of that nature. It also has the ability to make proper DNA. I'm trying to move my little boxes out of the way, so bear with me. The ability to make proper DNA, RNA, and SAMe. And with the current events that has happened, so those that have taken the jab and they have MTHFR, you can guarantee there's bigger problems going on. The ability to form red blood cells and white blood cells, and many more chemical reactions that lead to healthy outcomes. So that's what that enzyme is responsible for. I know with myself, I've had to battle with anemia most of my adult life. When I was younger, I didn't have those issues, but since having the stomach stapling, anemia has been one of the problems that I've had. However, I've also been told when I've had red blood analysis done, my red blood cells are very misshapen. So this comes as no surprise to me. All right, so MTHFR methylation is a process or combination of all the actions and reactions of the above examples that shows the various abilities of having and using methyltetrahydrofolate properly. And all of these examples help your body to do any of the following by a process of communication that tells your body what to do and when to do it, such as tells your various genes when to turn on or turn off. And you may have heard the term, if you've done any type of studying at all on this, that you can turn the MTHFR gene off or on. It's basically, controlled by stress. It's controlled by different eating habits, different lifestyle things. So, it's whether or not you turn that on, turn it off. So if it's turned on, then you've got some, things that you've got to deal with. So it tells your body when to turn on or off your stress response. Enter her. It turns on or off your various enzymes. So that's pretty powerful there. Helps your body to detoxify properly. And if you've ever heard MTHFR people speak, the ones that know they have it, they will always tell you, I have an issue detoxifying, because they do. Their livers just don't function properly. Their pathways are kind of obscured. So they have a little bit of an issue detoxifying. In fact, I've worked with several people that have MTHFR, and you have to work extremely slowly with them, because you can put them right into Herxheimer reactions very quickly if you don't. So it controls how our neurotransmitters work. It helps produce energy, produces powerful antioxidants that prevent aging. It tells your body when and where to repair tissue damage. It turns off inflammation, and many more communications that control your overall health and well-being. So let me move this little box out of the way again. So as you can see, at a deep level, MTHFR is a powerful enzyme that is vital to many areas of your health that can influence your life and health in major ways. Those that have this enzyme working properly are typically much healthier because they are able to carry out these bodily functions normally. So your AO scanner can guide you with these different markers. So let's kind of take a deeper dive into these different markers. So these little boxes and Zoom are kind of annoying. So 2 gene types, and we have those 2 gene types that are actually mentioned or in a category in our scanner. So we have the heterozygous, so it equals 1 copy of the gene from either parent, and then there's homozygous, equals 1 copy of the gene from each parent. Approximate percentages of reduced ability to produce MTHFR or methyltetrahydrofolate reductase enzyme. These are the different lacks or let's see, losses of function. So if you have the MTHFR C677T heterozygous, you have a 40% loss of function. If you have the C67 and the homozygous, you have a 70%. I really don't know what all this means. We'll take a deeper dive possibly in slides 2. And then if you have the A1298C, the heterozygous, you have 20% loss of function. And then the A1298C homozygous. So you get the idea. You have a great loss of function if you have either of these 2 genes expressing. So you want to monitor those 2 genes. And this is what it looks like. It's in your genetic category. Under your vitals report, you'll find those 2 markers. And you'll notice that yesterday, my A1298C was perfectly balanced, but my C677T one was expressing itself a little bit yesterday. Yesterday was a little bit of a stressful day for me. I was kind of all over the place, so it kind of makes sense. You'll want to track these along with a few other markers. The most obvious symptoms of MTHFR gene problems are folate, folic acid, and or methyltetrahydrofolate reductase deficiency. So you'll be able to track those in your scanner, and I'll show you on the scanner. So number 2, one of the markers is folate, vitamin B9 deficiency. And I'll kind of go back and forth here. Or I can show you at the end of the slides if that will help you. We'll show you exactly where these different markers all are. So the vitamin B markers are actually in the vitamin B area in your scanner. Let me pull mine up and I'll kind of tell you where it's at. So it's past the CBC, past the meridians and whatnot, and it's in the category, let's see, vitamins and coenzymes. So it's right underneath the category of your genetic. So you'll see your folate, your vitamin, your different vitamin Bs. So some of the signs of folate vitamin B9 deficiency from methyltetrahydrofolate reductase deficiency from mutations, C677T and A1298C include but are not limited to anemia, eczema, cracked lips, prematurely graying hair, which I have, anxiety, tension, poor memory, lack of energy, blood clots, poor appetite, stomach pains, depression, neural tube defect, infertility, blood cells that are odd-shaped and misarranged. So further elevated is a number 3 marker is homocysteine. In their blood or imbalanced levels of homocysteine. Elevated folate levels on a blood test can be the result of dysfunctional MTHFR genes, which vary from person to person. So again, these are some of the different symptoms, and I had pretty much all of those. Now I don't have the depression like I used to have anymore because I've been working on that with the scanner. I have plenty of energy. I don't suffer with blood clots or anything like that, but I do have a poor appetite. Sometimes I deal with some poor memory. I used to have huge problems with anxiety. Never had really eczema or cracked lips or anything like that, but I do have the graying hair, and the graying hair is something that is pretty across the board with my Huggard family, my Huggard family line. So another deficiency that you're going to find is vitamin B deficiency. So several of your vitamin Bs, and the deficiencies are pretty, there's quite a bit of them. So there's 2 slides that have these different symptoms. So these are different things that if you're listening to your clients, maybe make note of these different symptoms and see if you can put together if any of these correlate with possibly, do they have MTHFR, a gene mutation that's expressing and causing some of these things. And if they do, then there's ways to help them. Here's some other markers: choline deficiency symptoms. So choline is not in our scanner, but there are markers that will kind of help you put if you have a choline deficiency, and then you can take choline to kind of help. So high blood cholesterol. So number 5 marker would be your LDL-C direct. And then, and that's your good cholesterol. And then that fat would be number 6, the LDL, or the LDL slash P. This is the bad cholesterol. So if you have elevated levels, and all, like I said, I've got it on the spreadsheet and I'm making little notes so that you'll have this later. But these are different markers. You'll have all this. I'll give it all to you. So fatty liver, you want to monitor your liver markers, your nerve degeneration, high blood pressure, so your vascular resistance. We have a whole section in our scanner that kind of goes through your cerebral vascular and cardiovascular markers. Arteriosclerosis and senile dementia are some of the things that can start to manifest if you have MTHFR that's out of balance. It can also lead to reduced resistance to infection and lowered immunity. So if you have somebody that's really dealing with immune system issues and not so much autoimmune, it's really not that. I mean, this can turn into an autoimmune issue if left too long and you don't kind of start to correct those issues. But let's look at it as maybe a start of it. You want to look at their immune function and see how their immune is functioning. Inositol, which when I went over this, I thought, well, what is that? I thought that was just a sugar, and it is a sugar, but it's also called vitamin B8. Vitamin B8, just so you know, is not indicated in the scanner. So the deficiency symptoms of that, though, will help us to figure out what the markers are. So irritability, insomnia, nervousness, hyperexcitability, reduction in nerve growth and regeneration, low HDL. So your good cholesterol will be low. This will cause an increased risk of cardiovascular disease. So again, look at those cardiovascular and cerebrovascular markers and see if their HDL levels are really, really low and staying low. This could be an indication that MTHFR is an issue. Amino acids, those are the building blocks of life. They're essential to good health. Those who have MTHFR gene mutations can have complex problems that cause building block imbalances. I will show you my scan here in a few minutes from yesterday. You're going to see very clearly that I have an amino acid issue. I have tried, I don't know how many brands of different amino acids, and my amino acids have never balanced out. So that what has really kind of given me an indication that there's something deeper going on. Because if you start showing or start getting your clients on some amino acids and good amino acids, and then you're noticing in their scan results that nothing's really changing with their amino acids, there's a good probability that MTHFR is definitely an issue for them. So then you're going to have to dig a little deeper. So you want to really, there's a whole section of amino acids on your scanner. So want to really monitor those with your clients. Methionine, even Becky Coots has talked about this. This can be high or low in those with this genetic disorder, but it is one of the most important building blocks affected by the gene. And it's right in the middle, I believe, of the amino acids. This is because methionine is involved in methylation and maintaining the homocysteine level. So again, take the methionine and the homocysteine, compare them, kind of monitor them. Symptoms of methionine imbalances can vary greatly. Some of the more concerning symptoms include cardiovascular disease, heart attack, stroke, inability to detoxify, inability to process and or use other important aminos. Also, lowered immunity and chronic allergies. That was something that I constantly had, was chronic allergies all the time. That was before I started getting on my wellness journey. Again, like I said, I had anxiety. I had depression to the point where I was suicidal. And this is all keys to probably what was going on, underlying going on with me, but I had no idea. But now that I have the scanner and I'm actually, taking a little bit by a little bit and trying to, improve my health, I'm finding out that when I start adding things and I'm not noticing a difference with it, then there's a deeper issue going on. And this is really what's helped me. And that's why I'm kind of excited. I'm so grateful for our scanners because this really does help us understand. So another deficiency would be glycine deficiency. It's another amino acid that is actually attacked. So what are the symptoms with it? Low energy, fatigue, blood sugar imbalances, hypoglycemia, anemia, chronic fatigue syndrome, poor digestion, seizures. Further, manic bipolar, depression, cancer, mental health disorders, uric acid toxicity, phenolic and benzoic acid toxicity. So again, there's a few more markers. We have mental clarity in our scanners. We have the uric acid. You can track that. If their uric acid is on the higher, markers from 7 to 9, and it's consistently that way, you may want to put these things together. I think this is as far as I got. We're going to cover more next week, but thank you for being here. We'll cover part 2. Again, the disclaimer, the AO scan technology is not a medical device, nor it's a diagnostic. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. The information is shared in this presentation is for educational entertainment purposes only. So I'm going to share my screen real quick and show you my report from yesterday so I can show you those different markers. And again, like I said, as I'm compiling this information, I'll put it together on this spreadsheet with some different notes on what you guys need to look for. But let me show you my amino acids here. And like I said, I have tried some of the best amino acids on the market. I've tried liquid ones, I've tried tablet ones, I've tried powdered ones, and you can tell right here that my amino acids, and they're always this way. So it's very rare to see any that are very balanced. So this would be a key thing to kind of track on your clients. And then I highlighted the methionine because you do want to monitor that. This one happened to be pretty balanced yesterday.
Tammy,
yeah, go ahead.
We can't see anything. All we see is the thank you page. We're not seeing your sheet.
Okay. Let me stop share and reshare. Thank you for telling me that. Okay, now can you see my spreadsheet?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Okay. All right. I didn't realize I had to stop share and reshare. Okay. So these are my amino acids again, like I stated before. And when you kind of scan through mine yesterday, you can see I have a lot that are low. I have some that are elevated. So these would be things that you would want to kind of look at and start to really pay attention to. Cysteine, the glycine again is another one that is a deficient one. And I want to highlight that in a little bit different color because we want those to stand out. I've got this little lighter color. So, any questions that I can answer so far from what I've covered? Does this help at all? Does it help you guys to know, what MTHFR is, what things you need to start to monitor?
Great information, Tammy. I researched this when I was an instructor, and 60% of us have this mutation. So it's really important to know this information. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree. I've dealt with so many clients with it. In fact, I didn't realize that I had it until later on. I mean, it kept showing up on my scanner, but I'd never been tested for it. And I have lots of clients that they've spent hundreds of dollars for the testing, and even the testing actually covers and reveals many more different markers or genes within those markers. But I'm just thankful that our scanner has the two that we can at least refer back to. And if they keep continually showing up, then that that's something you've got to start tracking.
What I love is that not only are you educating about the MTHFR, how we track it in the scanner. You're not just saying, okay, this is what the problem is and how critical it is, but you're helping us find triggers or flags in the scanner. So that's what I'm loving. Instead of just saying, oh, and your scanner will help you find this, figure it out. It's like, okay, that's the part that's amazing. So thank you.
I'm that type of an educator because I need to know why. What am I looking for? What are the symptoms? Because you can look at all these markers, but if you don't know what the symptoms are with the markers, then you really don't know if your person or your client is dealing with that. So that is just the way, I'm very, inquisitive of my clients. Tell me, I want to know what they're putting on their body, what they're putting in their body, what their daily routines are, what their jobs are like, because all of that has a factor in their health, and their spiritual too. I mean, I get really personal with my clients, and I know many of you do too, but we've got to help them where our doctors just don't help anymore. I mean, most of our clients, have been to every doctor known to man and every specialist known to man. And it just seems like that there is a disconnect in our medical field. So it breaks my heart to know that people suffer so badly with it. Okay, any other questions, any other thoughts? And I will definitely, I'm going to be working on the spreadsheet. I'll share that with everybody so that way, and I'll put my notes in there. I'll share the presentation. You guys are welcome to use it on your own. But any other questions or any other thoughts? And yes, I am taking.
A couple of weeks ago, I was tested for the MTHFR gene mutation, and just this week, I actually had to talk to the nurse. The doctor didn't call me back, and she said, "You have a very mild form of the heterozygous gene mutation," and she didn't tell me what it was, and so I had to look it up on my own. And even what I found didn't indicate to me that it was a combination of the MTHFRs. And so thank you very much for this, because I'm enlightened now, and I know, so I can move on from there.
Yeah,
I appreciate
and
it.
I'll build on this too, because there is a lot of, I've been studying this for quite some time, but I've never really put anything into a presentation. So when I started with this, I thought, oh, gee, more information that I can cover in one episode. So we'll keep building on it, because I think it's definitely one of those things that, if we can help our clients with it, then that's going to be a big, huge part of the puzzle because I know for me, I am my biggest puzzle and I have the hardest time figuring out my own self. And I keep thinking, well, it's the stomach stapling. That's what's causing a lot of my health issues. When really, I think MTHFR is a big underlying issue that I can actually control, and it's like, I'm so excited. Thank you for giving me MTHFR. So I know that's crazy to be grateful for something, but in all, I just, when you have when you have something like I do, where you've been cut from your breastbone down and vagus nerve has been all disrupted, you're like, well, where do I even start? So this has been one of the things that has really helped me in my own health journey, knowing, I'm not crazy. There really is something underlying going on. So,
Tammy,
yes, ma'am.
with our new 660 band, and depending on which wrist, like Sheila had said in Wednesday's thing, when you're wearing it on the wrist, it's going to help with the liver. You'll want to start slower.
Yeah.
Or if your client starts having issues, that could be an indicator. Wait a minute, I need to step back and see in the scanner if I'm finding some of these indicators. So I know everybody's excited about the band and utilizing it a lot. So this just something that as soon as you started saying the liver, I'm like, oh, wait. So that was one of the connections I made.
And we've been using ours now since we've got it. And I think we're on day, I want to say maybe we're approaching a week using it now. And what I've noticed with myself, and I know it's because I do a lot of sitting with the work that I do, but I do try to get out, get active, walk, do the things that I need to do for me. But even in between that, you're sitting a lot. And I have a lot of varicose veins in my ankles. And I've noticed using the 660 band on those, they're starting to kind of lighten up a little bit, because there's a lot of stagnation in my lower legs from the sitting. But Scott, I don't know if y'all knew that he had really damaged his hand with a saw, and he's been wearing the 660 band every morning. He goes, what he notices immediately is a freeness in that hand, where, before he puts it on, there's a lot of tightness, there's a lot of inflammation. He said it's not really that he can't move it, it's just there seems to be something that stops him from, moving it. But he notices when he wears that, his hand is so much freer. So I can only imagine what that 660 band's doing to our circulatory system in general. And I can't imagine how wonderful that's going to be after some lengthy use of it. But I know I'm finding great usage. I've even put it on my thyroid. I've been putting it on the back of my neck. I've put it on my shoulder that's been hurting a little bit. And wow, we have such an amazing, and the illuminator too. My eyes are quickly changing. So you guys get onto that. That stuff is just amazing.
Tammy, I have a question, because my husband just got home after being gone for 2.5 weeks. So he got to use the 660 band for the first time this morning, and he was asking which wrist to put it on. And I'm like, honestly, I haven't heard. So I've been putting it on my left for most of it because of energy flow coming in my left. So I've been doing that. Is there between the right and left, or you just do both? Like last night I went to bed with a headache. I actually fell asleep with my AO scanner. I've been stressed pretty much with puppies. And I end up putting the band on the back of my neck because I end up starting to go to a migraine. And I could not believe how quickly that settled down and it was gone. But back to my main question, does it matter which wrist?
What we've been doing is we've been wearing it 20 minutes on each wrist, and then I wear it 20 minutes on each of my ankles. I just lift my leg up and kind of put my leg in an angle and kind of lay the band on it. And I do it 20 minutes on each of those spots. And I feel like I get a lot better with it. Now, Scott, I think, has only been he's been wearing it on both of his wrists. He's not been doing it on his ankles, but he's been doing it on both his wrists. What they did mention, Sheila mentioned on a call the other night, was that the right wrist helps support the lungs, spleen, and kidneys, while the left wrist helps support the heart, liver, and kidneys. So does that help?
So there's benefits on both sides. Awesome.
Benefits on both sides.
So I have varicose veins, just like you said. I never got them until after I had kids, and
Yeah.
my mom will look at my legs, and I'm 38 years old, and I have legs of my grandma before she passed away at 90. Like, I have that bad of varicose veins.
Yeah.
And that's what I was starting to wonder, is if that would help. I got one of the wands from Becky.
Mhm.
So I've been wanding them as well. But I was curious if the 660 band would help with that, or are you using the eliminator on those?
I have not started using the illuminator on. I think if you had those veins that are kind of popping out, those would be amazing. The illuminator would be amazing on that, because it actually helps to reduce the vein, the elasticity of it. It kind of puts the collagen back into the area. So I think the illuminator is another thing that you could actually use on those areas, and it would be very beneficial. But I also I've been wanding my varicose, my spider veins and varicose veins for, I think, a year and a half, and I'm not really noticing anything with the wand. But the moment I started using the 660 band, I could start to see some lightening with my ankles. So I think there's a little bit difference there. I think I'm still getting benefit from the wand. I just don't think it's doing what I'm hoping that it would do with the veins. Like
Well,
the
that's what my
660
husband,
would be.
and that's what my husband pointed out, was like, he goes, I wonder if the wand would help those veins. They're bad enough that pop out enough that my mom and the doctors, when I had kids, they asked them if I wanted to have them removed, and I'm like, no, they don't hurt me.
Wow.
I don't want anything there. Like, some of them are probably a quarter size round, and they probably stick up a quarter inch. I mean, there's just one big long streak of them. But
Right.
okay, well, I went to Mexico with my upline, and she had an extra eliminator, and I told her, no, I don't need one of those. Now I'm going to tell her I'm going to need it.
Yeah. I think, and the illuminator, if you have any vision disturbances at all, it is amazing for the eyes. First we were told don't use it on your eyes, and then now that we're using it on our eyes, I'm like, gosh, we should have been doing this a long time ago, because I only have one contact in. I do monovision because I need something for up close, and it's my left eye that's it's so much weaker. My right eye is more dominant. But I'm also noticing that my contact still just seems not right. So I'm going to keep it up, and hopefully, I mean, I've even been able to text on my cell phone without the contact in. I don't do it for very long because I don't want to create a headache, but I am able to do that where I wasn't able to do that at all. I mean, I couldn't even see the letters on my cell phone without my contact in. So now I'm able to see them. They're a little bit fuzzy, but they're not as bad as they were, where you couldn't even recognize them. So
That's awesome, because I have contacts, so I've been trying to use the wand on my eyes too, trying to get them to where I don't need them. But okay, I guess the eliminator is the next purchase.
it's
Thank
a
you.
great thing to have. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Tammy,
Hey, Tammy,
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead,
this is
Debbie.
Deb. I have a couple questions. So you said you guys are using the illuminator on your eyes. Does that help with glaucoma as well?
That's what Kai said. I mean, the lady that he suggested this to, she had macular degeneration. So that's one of your most severe eye diseases that you can have. So I imagine it could very much help glaucoma. It just
Greg
depends
just
on
went to the eye
severity of it.
doctor, and he showed a comparison from 2014 to now, and he said he could have that surgery anytime. I prefer him not to do the surgery, but I know we've used the wand on it, and it doesn't seem to have helped. But I said to him, well, who knows what it would look like if you hadn't been using it?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
So
true.
Anyway, I wanted to know that. I do know you're using a tube with the illuminator. Does
Uh-huh.
it have to be 12 inches long?
It has to be 12 inches. They're saying at least 12 inches away from the eye. I
So
wouldn't
at
use it
least
any
12
further.
inches, and then you put the illuminator on it. And
Yeah.
how long are you leaving that there? Like
2
20
minutes.
minutes?
No, the 2 minute
Oh,
session.
just 2 minutes.
Yeah, and you do it on the
Okay.
highest setting. But Deb, I'm working up to the highest setting. I'm actually doing
Okay.
the highest setting today. I didn't have time when I got up this morning, but I am going to use it a little later and do it on the highest setting.
Okay. That was my question on that. And then I do have another one with this MTHFR. I don't remember which one I have, but I have one of the MTHFRs and I've been working. I think that's why I'm not getting, I mean, I feel like some days I feel good and other days I feel like I haven't ever done a thing to get better. Greg has one. He has a different one than I have. So we each have one. And I know different ones cover different things. And I'll have to verify which one I have. But anyway, I know that's a lot of my issue. So what I see that you've given us some things to look for on the scanner, which is awesome. I'm just wondering, other than tracking, what we can do to maybe help with it, like a Cephi or the dots, or do you have any? I mean, I know that we're just learning about it, but do you have any suggestions of a Cephi or something that we could be running?
Yeah, I'll definitely I'll come up with a list today and put it in the chat. But that will be some other things I want to incorporate with this is just different things that, you can help along with the scanner, maybe even some dietary and different things like that too. But that'll
Okay.
come in the later slides.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I saw you mentioned choline, and my doctor that I actually saw looked at because I had the 23andMe done, and then I had Sterling put all of the information in a thing. I have a binder of the MTHFR alone. It's just a lot. I mean, it's a lot of reading, and she's a geneticist who did the report and stuff. It's just we talked about a couple things, and my physician recommended choline, and that seemed to help a lot. It's just hard to know like what things, like, do you have to take a supplement for everything? And I know that I don't absorb stuff. I know my absorption is really bad.
I don't absorb either, Deborah, but I'm going to tell you that our Prime with Solex is phenomenal, the methylated one.
Okay.
Get on it.
Greg and I both are taking that. Do you think it matters? As long as you have MTHFR, you should be taking the methylated. And does it matter which one you have? Or if you have methylation, MTHFR, you should take it no matter what?
I would definitely, because we took the non-methylated when they first came out. And I can tell you, I notice a difference between taking both of those now, because when I first started taking, I thought, oh, I feel great. But now that I'm taking the methylated one, I'm like, oh, I did not feel very good on that one when I took it. So I can't explain to you other than I thought I had a little bit more energy and felt pretty good on it. But as time went by, I was not doing well on the non-methylated one. But now that we're on the methylated one, and Scott also shows signs of MTHFR, and so do both of my boys. And so do our grandchildren. So I do believe that maybe adding choline and inositol are both going to be great things if you're showing that you're having deficiencies in those areas. Because if you read up and find out, choline actually helps the enzyme, the MTHFR enzyme, to be able to do its job better. So I think it might be something that you could muscle test and ask your body if you need it. And if you do, then start taking it.
What was the other one? You said Prime, choline, and what was the other one?
Inositol is another one of them, which is vitamin B8. But it's basically you can't buy it off the shelf. It's basically a sugar that's produced in the body. So you have to just watch it on you have to watch the different markers for inositol deficiency to know if maybe you need to do that.
Okay. All right.
So it's
Thank
gonna,
you.
it's gonna be a puzzle work.
Of course, it all is.
Deborah,
Thank you.
Deborah, I have two things. My husband has a non-glaucoma pressure issue. So I did quite a bit of research on that. And there are some published papers, it's been so long ago now, NIH, but you can find some published papers that if you take high quality frankincense oil and put it in the palm of your hand and rub, and then with eyes closed, tap over your eyes for 2 minutes, you will find that that is very beneficial for the pressures of the eye. And we did it, he decided to do it in the mornings before rising and in the evenings as he went to bed. That just fit our lifestyle easier, as just having the frankincense oil next to the bed. And so he did that twice a day. At night, he took it in, because he was recumbent, did it around the orbital socket, but only at night, because he found during the day, if he did it in the morning, if he happened to sweat during the day, there were some times that there was a little more burning in his eye. So at night, once you're recumbent, with maybe a roller cap on your essential oil bottle, just go around the orbital socket after you cup the 2 minutes. And that kind of seeps through during the night. And that is very beneficial. We've had a lot.
I know frankincense is awesome.
Well, and his eye doctor was just astounded at the drop in his news. They were just like, what are you doing? So that, and then I do want to say, we went out because my husband is a physician, an allopathic physician. So he's going to research everything we get through our naturopath side. So the protocol, he went out to research the protocol that Kai was talking about. And it is 12 inches, but it's 3 minutes, 1 time a week, or 1 minute, 3 times a week. It is not a daily thing. So it's 3 minutes, 1 time a week, or 1 minute, 3 times a week. So I know everybody's getting a lot of results, but it is red light. We are going back into brain areas. So I think we should, all move cautiously with that. But he went out and researched the actual London hospital research and what the actual report was and what all. So we are getting ready to start that. And 3 minutes, 1 time a week, and it should be done within the first 3 hours upon rising.
Yeah.
So the first 3 hours.
3 hours of what?
Upon rising, when you wake up. So there's not, I think Kai said 8 o'clock, do it first thing in the morning. Well, if I work night shift, I'm rising at 10 p.m. So the more accurate language is within 3 hours of rising, turn the red light on 12 inches from the eye, and you do it for 3 minutes, 1 time a week, or 1 minute, 3 times a week. And then, like Tammy has said, working up to the number 4 intensity on the illuminator is what's optimum. So if you can't keep your eye open at 2, back it down to 1 until you can slowly progress.
I will add that when you're looking at that light, when you first put it on the eye, it looks red. But as time, as the minutes or as the seconds go by, it starts looking like it's green. Sometimes it looks a little yellow. So, and then when you take it off the eye, it's like, woo, you have these 3 little dots and you're looking, but it takes about 20, 30 seconds for your eyes to readjust. But I am noticing a difference. So I will take your advice and we'll start doing it on the lower end there because I don't want to do any damage.
Right.
Any other questions or comments? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Tammy.
You're welcome. Who's going to live? You mean to the live event in Utah?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. I'll be there, most definitely.
Have you been, you and who?
Me and Scott will be there. We've been to every one of them so far.
Okay, so I called customer service yesterday because I'll be driving from Iowa.
Mhm.
And I asked them where it was, if they could tell us yet, because they just said Provo, but I told her on the website, and when I was looking, it all said Lehigh.
Yeah.
And she said, oh, that's been changed out, but she was going to try getting some more information on where the venue was, because my husband and I are both going out, but my husband's going to be golfing while I'm in meetings. And I told her I just want to be close enough to where I could walk back and forth if I get done prior to him getting done. But she hasn't said anything. So I haven't gotten a response back yet. Have you heard anything on where the venue is? Not yet. Okay.
No, because they've had it at Thanksgiving Point the last 2 years. And prior to that, they had it near corporate, in the mall that's there nearby corporate office which was way too small. But I'm not sure where they're holding it this year. But as soon as I find out, what's your name? I can't even see you on here.
This is Tony. This is Tony.
Okay. All right. So Tony, when I find out, I'll make sure I post it in the group. I'll post it in the chat. I'll make sure I'll make it very well known. But maybe I can put a bug in Shelby's ear and just ask her if she knows where it's at.
Okay. So another question. I'm part of other network marketing company.
Mhm.
Sorry, I'm optimizing right now if you hear that.
That's all right.
But I'm part of other network marketing, and sometimes they allow tours of corporate. Is this something that Solex does? Does anybody do it? Is it cool to go see, or is it
Yes.
legitly just an office?
Yes. We have a wellness center in our corporate office. So yes, they encourage tours, but I will tell you, book your tour ahead of time. Call corporate and let them know you're coming, and find out on their schedule what they do have open, because you can do the theta bed, you can do the red light bed, you can do the foot thing that they've got everything. So you can do those things. You just have to call ahead of time.
Interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah, they've got
Okay.
they have an IV bar, they have everything there.
And so when we go there and we book this or whatever, what's it cost per thing to do? I mean,
It
no idea.
depends on what you do. Yeah, they kind of give us as QLAs a discount. In fact, when I went down at the very initial, I took a friend with me. They even have a hyperbaric chamber. Took a friend with me, and they just kind of walked us through it took us 2 days to go through everything, but they just kind of catered to us because I kind of showed up unannounced, and we just spent a couple of days there. So you can also do that. You can take a separate trip just to go and check out the wellness center.
Right. That is awesome. Okay.
It is
I'm going to have
awesome.
to think on this now.
Yeah. Actually, if you can spend a good week or longer in the area, you will not regret it. If you can spend any time at corporate and any time around the area, it is just that if you've ever been to Utah, Utah's one of my favorite states.
It's beautiful out there. We've got some friends.
Gorgeous.
I've got actually my upline. She lives not too far from Provo. And then I've had a couple of friends out there that lived out there. One was in Payson, one was in Eagle Mountain. So every year we would go out there once or twice a year to go visit friends. And it's beautiful out there.
Yes. We always go up Sundance Mountain because that's our favorite. It's not too far from the area, not too far from corporate. So just make a good time of it when you go out.
Right. Are you guys driving out there too then?
We do. We drive every time.
Yep. I love driving.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Thank you, Tammy, and thanks for the training.
You're
always
so
knowledgeable.
Welcome. You're so welcome. I look forward to next week. I'll get more information out there and hopefully kind of know if it's going to be a 3-part series or just a 2-part series. But so far, I have a feeling it's probably going to be a 3-part just because there's a lot of information to cover. And I want to kind of go more in depth on how we can use the scanner, maybe CEPIs, and you know, different suggestions like that. So, all right, everybody. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you all, and have an amazing weekend.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
You're
you, you
welcome.
too.
All
Thanks,
right.
Tammy, and thanks, Carol.
You're
That's good
welcome.
information.